Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are talking about Vision Volumes 1 and 2, which according to Goodreads, which is generally at least 75% correct on these things, written by Tom King with art by Gabriel Hernandez Walta and Michael Walsh, colors by Jordi Belair, lettering by Clayton Cowles, and covers by Mike Del Mundo. Apparently, despite thinking that I had actually read anything else by Tom King, I have not. But I do think I got him mixed up with Mark Russell because they do read at least somewhat similarly. Just plus government background in King's case, I don't know. I kept imagining myself having so many articulate and insightful things to say about this short series that I've procrastinated for quite some time in saying anything. So now I'll say something. But who knows? As per Wikipedia, Tom King is an American author, comic book writer, and ex-CIA officer. He is best known for writing The Vision for Marvel Comics and the Sheriff of Babylon for the DC Comics imprint Vertigo. His 2012 superhero novel A Once Crowded Sky, Mr. Miracle for DC Comics, and the Rebirth era Batman for DC Comics. Colorist Jordi Belair is described on Wikipedia as an American comic book colorist who lives in Ireland and works for DC, Marvel, Valiant, and Image Book comic publishers. She has colored Pretty Deadly, The Manhattan Project, Moon Knight, The Vision, Magneto, Nowhere Men, Hawkeye, Batman, among other titles. Belair is credited with starting the Comics Are For Everybody initiative to make the comic book community more inclusive and compassionate. And somewhat randomly, cover artist Mike Del Mundo's Wikipedia page includes an early years section that describes him as born in 1980. His father was a musician, his mother was a teacher. The Filipino-born Canadian student was an active b-boy. He took part a competition between Canada and the UK. Of course, he does also have a style section that elaborates a bit with his work looks like a story. He gives the feeling of action with blurred lines. Mike draws in a bright colors. He provides a lot of detail. He can tell a story without any words. He is best known for his cover art as well as his interior work on titles such as Weird World and Avengers. As per his website bio on Eurocomics.com, after obtaining a Master's of Fine Art, Gabriel Hernandez Walta dedicated himself to children's illustration and painting. Upon receiving the Spanish Injuve Award in 2002, he decided to make the move to comics, starting with publisher IDW, producing titles such as The Thief of Always, based on the novel of author Clive Barker. Alongside El Torres, Hernandez Walta went on to create The Veil and The Suicide Forest. The artist also illustrated The Werewolf of Fever Swamp for Scholastic, as well as several fill-ins for Marvel Comics, and a few short stories for DC Comics. And per his profile on the Marvel Fandom Wiki, Clayton Cowles is part of the Virtual Calligraphy Lettering Studio. He is currently working on Daredevil, All New Inhumans, and Vision, which finally answers my question about what VC stands for. Whenever it says colorist, it starts their name with VC's Clayton Cowles, for example. Both of the trades who make up this series were published in 2016 by Marvel. Warning, some people and a puppy dog do die. As far as premise goes, we are basically following Vision and his synthetic family as they try and integrate into a Washington, D.C. suburb. In many ways, a classic sort of tale in the realm of speculative fiction, but King certainly brings some interesting elements to bear. For instance, I enjoyed the ways in which King downplays the, quote, specialness of Vision's family and plays up the value of being more ordinary while not idealizing sameness. The other thing I really appreciated about this short series was that Vision is not infallible, particularly at the time when I originally read this, but even up to the present time I am sometimes surrounded by people obsessed with facts, logic, and reason. Not to say I never appreciate these things, but there is more to life than just facts. especially facts, because you can find facts that support almost any position. It was nice to see a mainstream comic by an apparent white cis-het dude that deliberately chose to show a robot character with all the knowledge in the world believably make mistakes. People, even, quote, robot people, are complicated. There is no master narrative and no absolute truth. Yay! As usual, this series does fail to challenge the heteropatriarchy with gender and sexual diversity. I feel that that would have made this story even better, to be honest, but doesn't it almost always? Definitely feel like the idea that neither of his children challenged the gender he gave them seems actually kind of odd. Ability versus disability would also have been an interesting thing to take on with fallible robots, but no luck. Almost every normative depiction of middle-class life is an attempt to deny that class actually exists, and this is no exception. There's a bit of robots as stand-ins for stigmatized races, but besides people being scared of living beside robots that could easily kill them all if they chose, it wasn't really played up that much, I don't think. Mileage could vary. Bye, y'all. Keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, Indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.